Hi, I'm Steve Sable, president of NFL Films. When the folks at Hershey Chocolate USA came to us and asked us if we could produce a film about big blocks and king-size hits of the NFL, well, we jumped at the opportunity. Now, NFL Films has produced segments about hitting and blocking, but we've never done a full-length special that focused entirely on these two aspects of the game. And after all, that's what football's all about. Well, we recommended featuring Derek Thomas and Anthony Munoz, two players who strive for excellence, players who always try to be the best of the best. And, you know, this ties in with the founding and ongoing philosophy of Hershey Foods Corporation. You see, Milton Hershey, the founder of Hershey Foods Corporation, was like the men we'll feature in this film. He'd let nothing stop him. Despite several failures, Mr. Hershey never gave up, and his perseverance and determination led him to break ground in 1903 on what would become the world's largest chocolate factory. And today, it's the #1 confectionery company in the United States. Mr. Hershey's philosophy was based on setting and maintaining the highest standards for quality in products and in personal performance. It was based on the premise that man's greatest rewards come from his work and his pride in quality workmanship. Now, sit back with your favorite Hershey Big Block or king-size item as NFL Films and Hershey present Big Blocks and king-size hits of the NFL.
He's gonna wear your ass out. He's gonna wear your ass out, baby.
If you fancy graceful young runners, rifle arm passers, and fingertip catches, this show is not for you. But if you like hits, you got 'em. There are no big plays without big blocks. It's fist-to-face, hand-to-hand trench warfare, where men like All-Pro Anthony Munoz wage a never-ending battle on every snap. Life in the pit is survival of the fittest. Butkus. The mere name sends a chill up the spine.
Dick was an animal. I call him a maniac, a stone maniac. And every time he hit you, he tried to put you in the cemetery, not the hospital.
Preserved in black and white is perhaps football's most colorful era. The head slap, the crackback, the clothesline, and spearing were all legal. In fact, if today's rules were in effect, half the players in the Hall of Fame would have been fined more than they earned. Players lost their teeth, but never their nerve. And in the two-fisted 50s, 3 Hall of Fame hitmen started their reign of terror in the same year. 1952. Number 89, Gino Marchetti of the Baltimore Colts created modern defensive end play as he combined finesse with force in a devastating 14-year career. He could stand up a blocker and throw him away like a used lottery ticket, then rush to the head of the line to cash in the prize. Marchetti was perhaps the most intense and focused attacker of his era, while another who enlisted in the NFL wars in 1952 was just flat out crazy. Dick Night Train Lane, number 81, played for 14 years for the Rams, Cardinals, and finally the Lions, where he did some of his best work. He was an expert in one specific job, the clothesline, and it suggested that his necktie parties forced a rule change. But as Lane once stated, if a player couldn't take getting his neck wrung, he shouldn't be out there. Like Marchetti and Lane, Chicago's Bill George was a 1952 newcomer who bruised his way to the Hall of Fame. George, number 61, was football's first true middle linebacker. He transformed the position from a fifth down lineman to a stalking, roaming defender who could line up anywhere and hit anybody.
Bill wasn't all that big, weighed around 230, 232, but he was quick as a cat. He was an ex-wrestler in college. Tremendous strength. In fact, he's one of the few guys I could ever see that could throw Doug Atkins flat, and he could do it.
Atkins was a huge Tennessee hitman.
He had an arm that was like a leg. I mean, you know, his arm was about this big. Had the biggest arms I'd ever seen in my life.
I saw him eliminate the entire Minnesota backfield. He put Brown and Mason out in 2 straight plays, and the following week he put Horning and Taylor out with clotheslines in 2 consecutive plays.
For 17 years, Doug Atkins played defensive end. He was like a storm rolling in from all directions, and all there was to do was tie down what you could and hope he didn't take the roof. In the 60s, give peace a chance was the slogan, but not for David Deacon Jones.
If you want to take a man out, it's very easy to do, looking him square in the eye. And that was my whole approach in the game. I wanted to put as much fear into his heart and as much pain on his back as I possibly could.
The Deacon was judge, jury, and executioner for the Rams. He invented the head slap and was tabbed the Secretary of Defense.
You got this 260 pounds up to 4.5, and you got an angle on him, he should go to the hospital. And that's exactly what I tried to do. With no remorse in my heart, I try to put him in the hospital every time I tackle him. I wanted to hit, when I hit, and put my back into it, you know, boom. I mean, that's gonna provide that shot that's gonna put the intimidating fear of God into that running back. Let him know and make him go back to that huddle and tell his quarterback, damn it, I'm not running in Deacon Jones' area anymore. So each time he came over there, I tried to tear his damn head off.
But the 60s belonged to only one man, Dick Butkus.
You know, I'm really not the tough, macho guy that was only during the game, and no matter how hard you try to explain that, sure you were, you know. So.
Butkus's career was a series of scenes censored from movies already deemed too violent. He was a beast.
Butkus dominated a game the way no other player ever has. He dominated officials. He'd take the ball away from the guy after the play and shake it in the official's face, and the official would point it their way. It was awesome.
Dick Butkus, the idol of all who love football for the visceral, bone-cracking, blood and mud sport it was throughout the 60s. While the laws of survival governed the game in its infancy, the laws of physics seemed to take over in the 70s. Bigger players traveling at greater speeds in ultralight pads across lightning surfaces meant for heightened collisions. In the 70s, the hash marks were narrowed as well. Range was vital, and the man best suited for the souped-up game suited up for Pittsburgh. Jack Lambert, Dracula in cleats.
The middle linebacker is supposed to be the leader. I could never understand why some people had to be motivated. And I tried not to yell and scream too much, but sometimes when we were playing very poorly, you know, I felt that a few words were necessary, and that's usually when I did my yelling and screaming.
I never looked at professional football as a popularity contest. I look at it as my job. I don't care that my opponents like me. I care that they respect me, though.
Captain Jack was an enforcer with a short fuse. When he retired, pro football lost a true warrior. But there have been many others who have rushed in to fill the void. All-pro linebacker Mike Singletary anchored the toughest defense in the 80s. He was the bludgeon of the bruising Bad News Bears. All-pro safety Ronnie Lott manned the final line of defense for the best team in the 80s. The four-time world champion 49ers. In the 80s, high-tech robo-hitmen like Lott ruled the day. But one man was the decade's undisputed Terminator.
Hey, baby, let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs and have some fun.
That man was giant linebacker Lawrence Taylor.
I gotta do better than this.
It's as if a mad scientist created an indestructible android that never tired and unleashed it on an unsuspecting league just to watch his superhuman creation wreck things.
He is, without question, the most dominating player that we've seen on defense. I've never seen anybody as big as he is, as fast as he is, and as relentless as he is.
Yeah, he's relentless. He has a motor that never goes off. He plays the game 1,000 miles an hour, and he's really the most prolific football player that we have to face year in and year out.
He's made the Pro Bowl every year, and in '86, he was the league's MVP. It all began with the Marchettis and the Butkuses, but right now, LT is the state of the art. And in the 80s, he's been the best. A trail of bruised ball carriers testify to Lawrence Taylor's decade of dominance. But the 90s are here, so move over, LT. Make room for Kansas City linebacker Derek Thomas.
Outside linebacker from Alabama, number 58, Derek Thomas.
I think you can see from the beginning he was an exciting football player, certainly a guy who has all the qualities to rush the quarterback and a very natural pass rusher. He's got an air of excitement about him. He loves to play the game, and he plays the game relentlessly.
You never realize how quick someone is until you watch film on them and you see what they're doing, and then you watch film on him and you see him just blowing by guys and them not even getting their hands on him. I mean, that's tremendous.
Intimidating, ruthless. You love to watch this young guy go in the backfield and just cause havoc with quarterbacks, something that they haven't had here in Kansas City in a very long time. And it's nice to see that there is someone who has that mentality of ripping someone's face off, and that's Derrick Thomas.
The only thing that would ever limit Derrick would be himself. He has great skills. As long as he maintains the sense of pride to being the best that he has exhibited in his first year here, he can be an outstanding linebacker.
It is flat-out raw speed that wrecks offensive game plans and raises the eyebrows of NFL scouts. At the University of Alabama, Derrick Thomas blended that rare commodity with power and set a school record with 52 sacks. In one half against Penn State, he totaled 3 sacks, a batted pass, and a safety in what Brent Musburger called the greatest defensive performance he'd ever seen. Thomas won the Butkus Award as the nation's premier linebacker, and the Chiefs made the All-American the first linebacker they've ever drafted in the first round. After a scintillating first season, the NFL's Defensive Rookie of the Year returned to the Crimson Tide weight room in style to tune up another high-performance machine. While weights can pump up the outside, what pumps on the inside is the true measure of the man.
I can't even tell you how big my heart is because I consider myself as a winner, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. If it takes playing 65 minutes, I'll play 65 minutes. I'll never quit. I was content with playing the rookie role, and I was just going to sit back and wait until it happened. And Marty told me, no, kid, you know, the best way to become a great player is to experience it. And that's what he did. He put me out in the fire. The first week we started off against Denver, I think I got close to Elway one time. You know, the tackle pushed me all over the place. And we went home that night, and I was kind of frustrated. I was wondering, well, could I really play in this league? Then I came back the next week against the Raiders, and I was the NFL Defensive Player of the Week. But I think when I really figured out that I could play in this league was probably about the 8th game of the season. And it was at that point where I really started to come into my own.
You have to make sure that your scheme is keyed to block Derrick Thomas. One time he came in, threw an elbow, about took my head off, and we got in a little shoving match, and I started thinking, what the hell am I doing? The guy's one of the baddest players on the field. We had to focus our whole offense around him, and if you don't, he's going to be a disaster for your team. I'd hate to know what he's going to do in the next 2 or 3 years.
Wealth motivates some, glory motivates others. But what fuels Derrick Thomas is living up to the level of excellence of Air Force pilot Robert Thomas, a Vietnam MIA since Derrick was 5. Thomas's passion on one field often overlaps with his father's heroism on another.
It was December 18th, 1972, and my father and his crew were flying on a mission over Hanoi, and it was 3 sets of planes in sequence. Something happened to the first 2 planes in his sequence. They were about 10 seconds away from their drop site, and they were hit, and the pilot was killed instantly. The gunner was killed instantly. My father and the 3 navigators were safe in the plane at that point, and the navigator told me that he heard my father's voice over the headsets saying that the pilot had been hit and everybody parachuted out. Then when the navigator parachuted out, he says the plane went on for about a mile or so straight, so he figured that this pilot is going to fly this plane back to safety. And then he says, you know, in the horizon he saw a burst of flame, so he knew the plane had crashed. And that was at the last point anybody saw or heard from my father. My father excelled at everything he set out to achieve. I take that same perspective into football, into life. When we played Denver, the Air Force Base in Kansas City flew a group of jets right across the stadium. They flew like 3 or 4 feet over the scoreboard. You could feel it when it came over. And that got me real excited. And, you know, at that point I said, well, you know, I guess my father's somewhere watching, you know, and that inspired me to try to play the best that I could play on that day.
Now, too, Derek Thomas is on a mission he'll meet head-on, to become the Lawrence Taylor of the 90s, the most feared defender of the new decade.
There's only going to be a few people ever that's the best at what they do. And, you know, right now, Lawrence Taylor is the best. And one day, I want to achieve that status. I want to be the best linebacker in the NFL.
Derek Thomas, a king-size hitter who begins his reign with the following decree.
LT, the 90s belong to DT.
It's the most brutal, toughest, violent area in pro football. It's where the strongest, the meanest, the toughest all meet in a very short area for a very high price. That is where it's all at.
In the pit, if you want to do a story on In the Pit, I think the best way to sum it up is it's the corner of the field or the spot on the field where the big men play. It's where the big hogs get in there and fight one another, and one of them's going to win, and hopefully some guy that's real fast will be in there with you for just a second and out the other side. I think to be a success over a period of years, you've actually got to like beating up on somebody. You don't ever go into the game, at least I don't, with the idea of hurting somebody or taking them out, but you want to physically intimidate somebody when you're playing against them.
Damn, I got to beat this guy. Playing the pit is like being in the alley at 3 or 4 in the morning and a rainy night, and you got a couple of doping pinches. You don't know which one going to bite you, or you don't know if you're going to bite them back.
That's a cheap shot. You know that is.
It's just a nice dance routine. It's a bunch of big old bears doing a dance routine, but, you know, we're getting it done. We're just, the only thing we're not doing is wearing tutus.
On this down and dirty dance floor, huge men perform a punishing pirouette. The meek will never inherit this turf, because every play is hand-to-hand and body-to-body combat. In the pit, there is more violence per square foot than anywhere else in sport.
People get so small in an area, and fingers get in the face, eyes, nose, mouth, and you don't know where their hands been. So that's not nice.
Gotta watch out, these guys are coming low in there. I got punched in the in a pile, so be careful in there. They're not fooling around.
I trailed into Joe Jacoby one time, a real vicious blow, and he took it, and he came right back, and the next play kicked me right in the shin. You know, from that day on, I knew that this game wasn't meant for nice guys.
Hey, Shula, you better hope I never get back in there. I'm gonna kick your...
There's things that are going on in there that it would be illegal off the football field. I mean, you can literally kill somebody, the things that we're doing in there. And you're talking about guys who are 300 pounds and who can move, who know how to use their bodies to their advantage, and who are very mean and intense during the course of a game. So there's things going on inside the pit that people in the stands don't realize. It's mean, it's tenacious. It's the most incredible thing you could ever imagine if you're down in there.
I've got more cuts on my hands in this one half alone than I had all year. They must have blades stuck to the shoulder pads or something.
It really is survival of the fittest. Make no mistake about it. You have a rules maker, but they arbitrarily intervene.
Hey, you stay off! You stay off that pile! Just get out of here. You're on. Stay off!
Dang, that guy, he's coming in every pile. So if you're participating in that, you have to be the judge, the jury, and the executioner, all rolled in one.
It's pretty tough. It's kind of like a big wrestling match in there. It's pretty physical. It's a lot of fun though, because every play you're wrestling and you're hitting and fighting. You got to be on your toes at all times, or you're gonna be in trouble.
L.C. Greenwood once told me that anybody could play this game healthy. You've got to be able to play with pain. It's just the reality of our sport. You know, it comes with the territory.
You all right?
Don't run him on me. If you came out of the game every time you got a twinge or a burner up your neck or one of your knees got a little sore on that play, you know, you wouldn't last very long. I mean, you certainly wouldn't have anybody's respect.
That hurts, but do it again. Let me see. Let's go, baby, let's go. It doesn't feel that bad, I don't think. We'll give it a try. That's orange!
Back up. Let me see. Back up. Right in here. Denver ball.
This game is a physical game. The first element is the control of territory, the control of yardage, and that starts in the line, linebackers included. But that contest, that physical and mental contest that goes on every play, determines the ultimate winner.
Look in almost any end zone, and you'll find an act that could headline at a Las Vegas hotel.
Wow.
By the way some of these high-steppers dance, you'd think they'd got there on their own. But ringing up 6 points is never a one-man show. Lost in the path of these end zone entertainers are the working men who built and set the stage. They are the offensive linemen who play more with spit than polish. Building a team is like building a house. Start with a foundation and work up. The offensive line is the foundation. Everything else rests on it. They live in a battle zone where the heart of pro football beats loudest, and where victory is pursued one violent collision at a time. It's where men engage in the exhausting business of scratching and clawing on the hard corners of the sport. Life on the line. Every play is a war of wills. For every great team, success begins up front. San Francisco guard Randy Cross was the point man who led the 49ers charge to become the team of the 80s. In 1972, the Miami Dolphins went undefeated behind the big blocks of guard Larry Little. In their Super Bowl season of 1982, the Washington Redskins offensive line proudly wore the title Hogs. They became celebrities with their own clothing line, cheerleaders, and theme song.
Yeah, I love them hogs. Sing it loud, sing it clear, all the way another year. Everybody coming strong.
But those Hogs could never quite strike fear in the hearts of defenders like a man they called Boomer.
I didn't try to finesse guys. I just tried to beat up on them for 60 minutes.
Indeed. For opponents, Bob Brown was a 330-pound nightmare. Not as large as Brown, but just as effective, Raiders Hall of Fame guard Gene Upshaw led the sweep for Super Bowl teams in 3 separate decades.
As an offensive lineman, running and leading a sweep was the greatest joy that I had. 38! If you ever watched a boxer, he would knock a guy out. Most of them knock you out with a 6-inch punch. And that's the way it is with an offensive lineman.
You okay, Pitts?
Man down?
Huh?
You get out there on that little sucker, he don't know what to do. Pitts, I hit him with a forearm a while ago, so he's out. He's not on his feet. Oh, yeah.
New England tackle John Hanna took the legs out from under countless defenders for 13 seasons. He was named the NFL's Offensive Lineman of the Year 4 years running. John Hanna was truly a man among boys. Only the strong survive in the battle zone. Controlling the line of scrimmage puts a premium on physical conditioning. And there is no more dedicated disciple of weight training than the Falcons' 280-pound All-Pro guard, Bill Fralick.
The guys I'm playing against are 6'5", 270, 80 pounds. And the game is so competitive that I need every advantage I can get. And if I can come in here and make my legs that much stronger, 5–10% stronger, that is going to be an edge that is going to make me better on 1 play or 2 plays throughout the game. And you never know which play is going to be the big play or the game breaker, so that's why I do it.
No doubt, Bill Fralick is a bell ringer. But size and strength alone do not an all-pro make. It takes as much brain power as muscle.
Yeah, Anthony, you can feel that, right? You know exactly when he's pulling the pressure off and you can't get over your center of gravity, right?
You can, because he's looking and the back stretches it far enough, and then
it's the mental part of the game. Knowing exactly what technique you're going to do, adjusting to what the other guy's doing. I think a lot of that comes from up top.
So, you know, once he starts inside, you can start trying to finish the block.
Yeah. Oh, there's a great job there. He's got the big rip on you. You take a little pressure and just twist him right into the ground. I think that's 2 pancakes right in a roll. This is awesome.
That's what you coached all week. That big rip, all that momentum.
That's right. That's what we did. But
try to do what you said.
You got to do it. You're the guy that does it there, right? That's right.
The hand on the
But there's
hip.
another one. There's 2 plays in a row of a big block, and you know, I gave you 3 on that, and there's 2 pancakes right in a row. I don't think you need a coach. Huh?
The Bengals' #1 draft pick in 1980, Anthony Munoz has been a consensus All-Pro for 9 seasons. At 6'6", 280 pounds, Munoz uses finesse as much as power. He's a master of technique. He slides, shields, shifts, and maneuvers to get the job done.
You don't get very many blocks where you just get into a guy and from the initial hit, you just take and put him on his back. That doesn't happen very often. We talk about, you know, dominating a guy more than you use his momentum a lot of the times to finish him off. But with our offense, that's all it takes, is covering your man and keeping him occupied, and then maybe at the last second when he tries to make the tackle, then you can get an extra shot on him and move him out of the way.
His position belies his athleticism. A multi-sport athlete in high school, an All-American tackle at Southern Cal, Munoz was recently named the NFL's best offensive lineman of the 1980s. that title has not diminished his desire to excel. And he trains year-round to perfect the many techniques that have made him the most dominant tackle of his time.
There's no question that it takes as much or more work than any position. For me to experience him daily during a 20-game football season, I couldn't get any more satisfaction anywhere. You know, it doesn't matter if you went to Super Bowls or playoffs or led the league in rushing or passing, that I have coached the greatest lineman perhaps to ever play.
So if he's coming here, he'll take him.
To be the best, Munoz studies each opponent, their strengths, their weaknesses, their tendencies.
We've got to think of this week because Michael Dean Perry really presents a lot of problems for us.
But not for long. On December 3rd, 1989, Munoz buried All-Pro Michael Dean Perry in the Bengals' win at Cleveland. But other than players and coaches, did anyone know? Probably not.
You accept your job description, you accept the lack of notoriety early when you become an offensive lineman. And this is the room where you get your satisfaction, is coming in and watching, James Brooks rush for 150 yards, the Bengals rush for 200 yards, a Boomer throw for 300 yards. That's where you get your satisfaction. And, the team knows that there's an offensive line goes, so does the offense. And that's where the foundation of the team is built.
Loud pass off in the corner of the end zone. There's the touchdown, Anthony Munoz.
Wow. Well, it hasn't been all work and no glory. 4 times Anthony Munoz has caught a touchdown pass, and each gave him the rare opportunity to strut and take a bow. So for all those offensive linemen who never got the chance to take a curtain call, wow, this touchdown's for you. Ah, the offensive lineman, the unknown soldier of pro football, burdened to live a life of secret victories and private triumphs. So what does a guy have to do to get noticed? To get a little attention? It sure helps when the camera's pointing his way. (1966). Bob Boomer Brown travels to the Pro Bowl and takes down a record 4 All-Pros with one well-timed blow. 1940, the NFL championship game. The Bears destroyed the Redskins 73-0 after they were ignited by one electrifying block.
As a headliner, and I had to run down the field with Osmanski. The second play of the game, and he broke off left tackle and ran 68 yards for a touchdown. And George Wilson, playing right offensive end, came over to the left, took 2 Redskins out with one magnificent block, maybe the greatest block in a championship game to ever be seen, to clear the path for Osmanski. He went 68 yards for a touchdown and broke the game wide open.
Super Bowl 13. The Steelers' Franco Harris breaks loose for a key fourth-quarter touchdown. Who threw the key block? Was it All-Pro Mike Webster? Upon further review, it was Art Demas, the 12-year veteran referee from Vanderbilt, who screened out Cowboy safety Charlie Waters and cleared the way for Franco. It was party time for Pittsburgh after they won their 3rd Super Bowl of the 70s.
Let's go party down the beach all day.
1967, sun-swept Green Bay, Wisconsin. The NFL championship comes down to one final play. Green Bay guard Jerry Kramer catches Cowboy tackle Jethro Pugh in an upright position, then cuts him down. Bart Starr scores the winning touchdown, but Kramer makes it happen.
Let's go party down the beach all day.
Playing the Raiders in the 70s was no beach party. In Super Bowl 11, the Vikings' Sammy White caught a wave and wiped out.
Come on, turn around!
Jack Tatum delivered the most memorable blow in Super Bowl history. It set the tone for a Raiders win and sent Sammy White to the twilight zone. How he held on to the ball remains a mystery to this day. Another man who wielded the hammer of Thor was Colts linebacker Mike Mad Dog Curtis.
We're winning. Our momentum is significantly better than Miami's. And here comes Mr. Fan, who wants to join in the momentum. Oh, I don't know what but anyway, he was smashed. So he comes running out on the field, great lark, picks up the ball. When I saw him pick it up, I immediately ran over there and knocked him down. Not to hurt him, but to knock him down and get the ball back in the game, get rid of his rear end. I didn't think it was a joke that I was working out there. A lot of other guys might think it's a joke to see a fan run out there. To me, it was my job.
On the Eagles' march to the NFL championship, Philadelphia linebacker Chuck Bednarik crossed paths with New York's Frank Gifford. It was a very brief encounter.
Bednarik's hit on Frank was the greatest tackle I've ever seen. I mean, you know, I used to stay up at night thinking about hitting a guy like that. Frank was not looking at Bednarik. He should have been looking for him because Charlie could hit, and something's got to give, and it was Frank.
Like a cheap shot? Well, it really wasn't. I mean, Bednarik, had he given me a cheap shot, I probably wouldn't be sitting here.
Fourth down at the goal line. About a foot to go.
Finally, a hit that has just recently become the stuff of legend. A hit that will be forever frozen in the memory.
Hands off. Big dive. Stop! Gary Reasons. Great play by Gary Reasons. Threw his body right at Humphrey and crumbled him. Absolutely crumbled him.
That's a dream. That's the way you want to play it. That's the way you look forward to it. Everybody wants a hit like that. And I'm telling you, Gary got a great one, and the whole team just went crazy.
In midair, getting a solid lick on somebody and just knocking them back. That Gary Reasons stop on the goal line on Bobby Humphrey will be a classic play in the NFL for years to come.
It timed out real well. He had the ball. I did beat him to the punch, and he didn't even have a chance to get out of his tracks.
It was funny how, sitting from the sideline, you see that big old hole open, and you said, oh, my God, he's going to score. And all of a sudden, you see Gary come flying through there, and the guy almost breaks his legs falling backwards. So it's a play that somebody had to make it, and Gary Reason made it, and we're thankful for it.
Do or die, baby. Do or die. This is it. No tomorrow, baby. We want it now.
And they're like gladiators there. I mean, they're warriors. They're getting ready for battle.
And you've got to build a hatred up all week long, no matter what it may be. The guy may have freckles, and you hate people with freckles.
You go out there, and it's a battle. It's survival of the fittest. It's a challenge. You make a commitment. You're either better than the other guy or he's better than you, every play.
I think it's a chemistry that happens that comes together and slammed together right before kickoff.
One of the tricks in coaching is to find that button, to find that formula, to find that code within the player.
Get up on the line! Don't you know how much time's on the clock?
Defense is kind of wild and frenzied.
Yeah!
Like nitroglycerin ready to go off.
You can take a guy that's the toughest guy on the football team. He's meaner than a snake. I mean, this guy is really tough. But if he can't ever get over there to hit anybody, he can't play. You know, you've got to see, you've got to move, you've got to hit. That's what football's all about.
Ace!
That'll cool your ass off.
But the simple act of applying might and muscle can bring out as many conflicting approaches to hitting as there are hard-nosed men who've played the game.
Football is a violent game. It's a vicious struggle to be number one. It's a vicious game.
It's an enjoyment. It's fun. There's a great deal of satisfaction. And you'd be hard-pressed to find a football player who really looks at football as barbaric.
You are playing the game of war.
and it isn't with guns, but everything else is the same.
They say football's a war, and they're in the trenches, and they're kicking the out of it. If you're really in the trench and really want to know what war's about, that's when you're wetting your pants, because that's that chap shooting at me, and he didn't know what a nice guy I was, you know? So this, you know, I think it's overplayed a little bit.
I want to hit as hard as I can. I want to be as fair as I can. But at the same time, I just want the guy to realize when I hit him or when I'm playing that I'm going to give him all I've got. And after that, I mean, I'm going to help him up. And I want him to be in good health the rest of the game.
You've got to be a little bit mean to play that game, a little bit crazy, because it's a crazy game.
You have to have a relaxed state of mind to be able to play well. You wanted your ability to think uncluttered. Than to go through those gyrations of emotion. It's good for theatrics. We don't do a damn thing with playing.
I really just don't like violence, but, you know, sometimes, you know, they hit that switch. I kind of get that faraway look. They go on Howie time. My teammates call it Howie time. You feel like you can beat anything on earth, you know, and that's the way I like to feel on Sunday. Everything is just right by the time I get on the field. By the time I get on the field, I feel unstoppable.
And whether you call it Howie time or hard time, to hit and make it stick is a feeling like no other in professional sports.
It's a kind of a sound. It's a, you know, a special type of sound that the pads make, and it's just a feeling. It's like for an offensive player scoring a touchdown. Defensive players don't get to score many touchdowns, but they get to make big hits.
It really feels great to make a devastating hit. Nobody wants to hurt anybody intentionally, but there's nothing in the world, and I stress there is nothing in the world as great as getting that good hit in professional football.
What a great hit.
LT, the 90s belong to DT.